Have you ever had a memory that you wish you could rewrite? A single moment, a few harsh words spoken in stress that you've carried with you for years. What if you were given a chance, just 10 minutes, to go back and change it?
A road that refused to end. David had always believed that life was a straight road, sometimes quiet, sometimes noisy, sometimes steep, sometimes flat, but always moving forward. At least, that was what he thought until he reached the age of 25. That was when he first realized that life was not a road, but a mountain. A tall mountain that demanded strength, courage, and the willingness to take small steps, even when the peak was hidden behind clouds. Growing up in a small town, David was known as the quiet dreamer. While other children played outside, raced bicycles, or threw stones at every tree in sight, David spent most of his time reading. He read anything he could find: old magazines, torn novels, newspapers, and sometimes even the labels on cereal boxes if nothing else was available. His favorite books, however, were the ones written in English. English was not his first language, but it fascinated him. Every time he learned a new English word, he felt as if he had opened a small window into a larger world. He wrote words in a small notebook: courage, opportunity, perseverance, challenge. At the time, he didn't know that each of those words would one day become part of his life story. But even though he loved learning, the world around him felt small. There were no language centers, no libraries, no English-speaking groups, and certainly no internet fast enough to stream English videos without stopping every 3 seconds. For most people in town, English was unnecessary and even a little strange. But for David, English was a doorway, a door he wanted to walk through but didn't know how to unlock. The day everything changed. One afternoon, after a long morning of doing chores, David sat outside the small shop his father owned. It was a quiet shop that sold tea, sugar, notebooks, pens, and occasionally batteries or soap. Business was slow that day. The dusty road in front of the shop stretched far into the empty fields. David had nothing to do except watch the sun slowly melt behind the orange sky. Then, something strange happened. A car stopped in front of the shop. This alone was unusual, because only a few cars passed through their town each day. But what made it truly surprising was the person who stepped out of it: a tall, middle-aged man wearing glasses, holding a small backpack and a notebook. He greeted David with a warm smile and said, "Hello, do you sell bottled water here?" The sentence hit David like a lightning bolt. English, real English, spoken fluently, naturally, effortlessly. For a moment, David forgot how to answer. He stood there, frozen, trying to force words out of his mouth. Finally, he said, "Yes, we have." One moment. His pronunciation was shaky, but the man didn't seem to mind. He smiled even wider. "Your English is good," the man said. "Do you study it?" That one sentence changed the direction of David's life like a sudden wind that changes a ship's path. The man introduced himself as Mr. Thompson, a traveler and part-time teacher who loved to explore small towns. When he learned that David was passionate about English, he spent nearly an hour explaining simple ways to improve, reading short stories, listening to slow podcasts, and practicing 5 new words every day. Before leaving, he placed his hand on David's shoulder and said something David never forgot: "You don't need the perfect environment to learn. You only need a reason and consistency." That night, David wrote the sentence on the first page of his notebook and underlined the word consistency 3 times. The power of small steps. Inspired by Mr. Thompson's encouragement, David began studying English seriously, not with expensive courses or perfect tools, but with what he had. He read English articles offline. He copied vocabulary into his notebook. He spoke to himself in front of the mirror. He listened to the same audio file again and again until he understood every word. At times, progress felt painfully slow. Some nights, he questioned whether he was wasting his time. But every time he felt discouraged, he remembered the traveler's words, "Small steps matter." One evening, while practicing pronunciation, David realized something important. Learning a language isn't about talent. It's about patience. The more he practiced, the more confident he became. After 6 months, he could watch short English videos without subtitles. After a year, he began writing short English stories. He didn't show them to anyone, not yet, but writing made him feel alive. Life in the small town didn't change much, but David did. A dream too big for a small town. As David's English improved, so did his dreams. He started dreaming about sharing what he learned with others. But every time he told someone about his idea, they laughed. Teach English? Here? Who needs it? Make videos? Podcasts? With what camera? People like us don't do things like that. Each comment hurt, but David knew something they didn't. The world was bigger than their town. One night, he made a decision. He walked into his room, placed his old phone on a stack of books, and pressed record. The video quality was terrible. His voice trembled, and the sound of chickens outside kept interrupting. But David didn't care. He was finally doing what he always wanted: teaching English. He uploaded the video. It got 3 views, then 7, then 12. It wasn't much, but it was enough. David kept going. The climb gets harder. After a year of producing content, David's small channel reached 300 followers. It wasn't viral, but people were listening, learning, improving, and that was enough to keep him going. But success often brings new challenges. His phone broke. His father needed more help at the shop. People continued to doubt him. Some days, he felt completely invisible, as if the world didn't care what he was trying to do. But every time he considered quitting, a message from a follower arrived. "Your videos help me learn. I finally understand English tenses now. Please keep making content." These small messages were like small lights in a dark tunnel, a moment of truth. 2 years after meeting Mr. Thompson, David received an email from an online learning platform. They wanted him to create a simple English learning podcast series. They had found his videos and appreciated his approach: calm, clear, and motivational. David stared at the email for nearly 10 minutes, unable to breathe. This was the opportunity he had waited for his entire life. He accepted. His first podcast episode went live on a Friday morning. To his shock, within a week, it reached 3,000 listeners from different countries. People were learning English through his words. People were finding motivation through his journey. People were connecting with a young man from a small town who refused to give up. For the first time, David believed, not hoped, but truly believed that he could change his life. A mountain worth climbing. One evening, David stood on a hill overlooking his town. The sun was setting, painting the sky with colors that looked almost unreal. In that moment, he realized that the mountain he had been climbing wasn't English, or poverty, or doubt. It was himself. He whispered to the wind, "Small steps. Small steps can change everything." His podcasts continued to grow. His confidence grew, and with every new listener, he felt more grateful. David made one final decision: to dedicate his journey to others, those who felt stuck, small, unseen, or unheard, the ones who had dreams larger than their circumstances. He wanted them to know, if he could do it, they could too. If this podcast was helpful for you, feel free to visit my channel. With your subscription, you give me energy and help my channel grow. I warmly invite you to join me there, where I share more interesting and useful topics just for you.